Welcome to another Flashpoint Q&A, where you, Twitch chat, can unload all of the silly questions from your brains and make us answer them. And today...
It's Flashpoint 2, and where's it going to be held? And who are all the teams? And will there be other founding teams there? And also, what content will you do for it? And when will the major be? Oh, fuck, now I've just ruined the whole episode. Oh, I've asked all the questions already. Oh, shit. Damn it.
Yeah, well, you already asked all the questions. We get to answer them in order. So joining us
That's the end.
are Fifflaren from Dignitas and Dead from MIBR. I can predict that you will ask about the player change in MIBR to Dead. That's probably coming up right now. So yes, these are going to be the beautiful topics of conversation. To get it out of the way, first off, when is Flashpoint 2? Probably in September still. That's what we're looking for. September is the time that we are trying to lock down right now. I feel like every week that passes, we get closer to that happening.
Literally.
Yes, literally. We get closer to September with each passing day. This is true. But hopefully we also get closer to Flashpoint 2, happening in September with each passing day.
Problem is, though, because this is Flashpoint, which we all know, sadly, because our names are attached to it, Monty, isn't judged like every other tournament in the world, right? If now, like, there's another lockdown announced and we don't have Flashpoint 2, they'll be like, remember when Monty, it was so much for the integrity? Like, for me, they'll be like, is this journalism in 2020? You promised us that Flashpoint 2, like, as though we control all this stuff, you know. The best example being when they all went nuts about that, like, qualifier for Flashpoint 1 that obviously I didn't control whatsoever, but they made it seem like I just went in there and just fucked up the bracket for like no reason. Like, amazing times to live in.
Yeah.
Well, is your mic working, Dead?
I don't think Dead can.
Mine is working.
All right.
Yeah, yours works.
Dead's troubleshooting right now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can't hear us?
We're getting there.
We're getting there slowly.
Okay. Oh yeah, because I'm not hearing you guys on here on the on Discord.
Yeah, you sound beautiful though, so it's great. Guys, we're not gonna ask Dead about Gauls like that. No, he's not the like official spokesman of everybody, every streamer in Brazil. That's just silly.
And he runs MIBR TV, which is literally the rival of fucking Gowlers. So if anything, he should want Gowlers the fuck out. Let's get that. Yeah, let's get all the contracts all on the MIBR TV, boys. Yes. A comment you've never thought you'd ever hear me say out loud. CS:GO fans. There we go. He likes that one.
He likes it. He can hear us now.
I got to him through the stream. 15 seconds later.
I'm glad we got you, Thorin, for the brief period in between Crackdown and By the Numbers. All right. Do you have plans to make a better system for watching VODs?
I don't even. The problem with that question is, what does it mean though? Like a better system. I will say, by the way, just to be transparent, that is an area where Flashpoint we completely failed. We still haven't got all the VODs from season 1 up in terms of the individual games. We just got the whole day. So yes, if you're asking in that sense, like, will there be a classic like ESL where you just click on the VOD or you search in YouTube the exact name of the map? And so, yeah, we're putting those up now. We're gonna have them all up before Flashpoint 2. Like, that was an area where basically people were just behind on things, but we got it fixed now.
Yeah, and also that was shitty. So
I'll do it now.
Now, Dad?
Yeah, everything's perfect now.
Well, he switched to his webcam mic, but he went from headset mic to webcam mic.
Yeah, go back in the audio settings and pick the input as the thing, because now you fix one thing and put the other one off.
Yeah,
we're close. The grace of God, we're this close, boys.
The webcam actually doesn't sound too bad though.
It doesn't.
It's not terrible.
This was 5 years ago. It would have been pretty bad.
I switched right here. Is it better now?
It's better.
Yes.
You crushed it, Dad. You crushed it.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
This is 4 boomers try to use Discord together. This is what happens, guys.
I try to get my guys to change, and we're still using TeamSpeak. We're still using Facebook Messenger. It's all over the place.
That's one thing that actually blows my mind, because ENA actually use Skype to like book screens. On Europe, you go to like Facebook, and I don't know, like, seems like we're stuck in the past.
Even the Skype one is absurd to me.
I'm stuck in IT myself, but anyway, whatever.
You know,
Just a joke for
I realized I was getting old when Snapchat was really popular, and I installed it on my phone, and I like looked at it for 3 seconds, and I was like, I don't know how to use this, and then I just deleted it from my phone, which probably saved me a lot of grief for a variety of reasons. But yeah, I'm just, that's when I was like, I'm just old now.
The app was like, as far as I can tell, it was just a way to look at pictures of people's penises from around the world. Like that doesn't seem like an essential app to me. I mean, different tastes.
Penises from around the globe. A Snapchat story. Perfect. All right. So, are we going to continue with FACEIT as the operators? Yes. FACEIT is a lovely partner for us, and they've been doing a great job on the operation side.
They're all right. Just keeping it real.
Will Flashpoint potentially add more complex analysis pregame for a premium? Maybe.
If he means to pay, I don't think so. If you mean like just have like a better pre-game, yeah, we actually planned to, but that was another thing where like the time got truncated. Remember, it was going to be 3 phases instead of 2, and we also ended up having to some days do 3 best of 3s, which also screwed us for the playoffs. So yeah, ideally, if everything goes to plan, the original plan was we would have had 2 best of 3s a day. And so in that format, there's a lot more time because it doesn't matter if the game goes 3 maps. Like if anything, you want it to. So yeah, hopefully we will.
Let's see here. So Fifflaren, what do you take from Flashpoint 1, and what can you expect from the old Dignitas in Flashpoint 2?
I mean, Flashpoint 1 for us was obviously pretty much a bust. We were hoping that Hosok would obviously be there. We found out, I think, a few weeks prior that it wouldn't be possible. So a little bit of a short notice, trying to find a replacement for Hosok is obviously going to be difficult, especially when we put down a lot of time with him. We did good on the minor. We actually asked a few people prior to Guardian, but due to the shortness of the time and stuff like that, some people were already committed to Valorant at the time. Some people had already signed with an org at the time. This is back then, so like coming into Flashpoint 1, I mean, for us it was really damage control. Let's make the best of the situation. Let's see what
was there like a sexy move that you can reveal that wouldn't like ruin anything? Like was there some like sick player who was going to join but just couldn't, like it wouldn't be too BM to say?
No, I mean, 2 of the people that we looked at was Swag, and it was also Shazam.
Oh, okay. That would be cool.
Because the idea for us was obviously we needed to find an opper, and we needed ideally to find an aggressive opper, that one that could play a little bit solo, a little bit, we can just leave him somewhere, because again, it would be difficult to find someone that would be Swedish. We opted for Guardian, and I think it's still like our results had nothing to do with Guardian. I honestly think that he actually performed pretty well. I actually think that he did everything that was asked of him at the event, but I think that with Corona happening and, the first week of the studio getting swapped over, there was for 2 weeks, basically, we had no idea if we were going to, continue or fly back. And I think the mental state for a lot of the players, not just my team, was just not there. I think they were pretty, not checked out. They were obviously still there to win in some case, but I think that there was a lot of, I guess, not pressure, I'd say, but I think there were a lot of worrisome people, just about like the family at home. We had people with kids, the older parents. But we made the best of it. I actually think the last week we actually did. It's a shame. We obviously
too close to get through.
Yeah, we all, but we were a little bit too late. But last week of Flashpoint 1, I actually do think that we actually started playing better. It was a shame that it took us 3 weeks to actually solve the problems that we had. But coming into Flashpoint 2, then obviously Hallstark should be confirmed for Flashpoint 2. We should be having the full core lineup with the all 5. And then it's business as usual. I mean, sure, we haven't really picked up the pace after Flashpoint 1 since Hallstark. So if we got back with Hallstark, but it's a work in progress. I mean, at the end of the day, like you always have to look into like why you're losing as a team and what you're good at, what you're bad at. And we're definitely doing that progress. So we're definitely doing that work. Super excited for Flashpoint 2 in general. It will be Hallstark's first international event outside of Norway. Finally get a chance, hopefully, to prove himself in maybe a studio environment. We don't know yet, but we'll see what happens with that. But I'm really excited for Flashpoint 2. I really can't wait to like really get up to pace here. And I think at the end of the day, this online phase that we've had has benefited a lot of people, but I think that for us, it really hasn't.
Yes.
I think that we have 4 guys that's been playing this game for 10 plus years in an offline environment to go back and online. And even if you say, hey, the major's on the line, you have to mentally be prepared. It's not the same. You can never argue that it's going to be the same. And it's difficult. Like, it's difficult for me. It's difficult for the guys. Get them in the right mindset and stuff like that. We're trying the best that we can. But honestly, I think that at least the top tier seed, tier 1, tier 2, probably hoping for offline to come back, and we can kind of start seeing this maybe rank and get into order again.
Yeah, that's one thing I want to actually just add. That is one thing that you have to give a consideration to Dig for in Flashpoint 1, which is when they make a team like that with super veterans and veterans that have all played together, even if they actually wouldn't end up being one of the better teams, the way you're going to get an edge still is that you're playing on LAN versus teams that some of them have barely played LANs, or some of them like newer players like Cloud9.
Compare our first week. We played one game in the studio. We won that game, right? We played so much better. We go back online. It's a few days later, and we play like we've just started touching the game.
For us, was like everything different. We lost.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, because like for me, I love day one. We had Orgless right in front of me. They were shouting. They were being, assholes. And I'm like, again, I'm always upset when this happens because I'm like, you guys does not deserve to fucking speak your mind. Stop yelling. Like, you show it on the server. We ended up winning that game, right? We played really well, and that was obviously the first game with Guardian, and everything was working. But as soon as we got back then online, it's not the same, and it's never going to be the same. And I think, to Duncan's point as well, I think my team, Ricardo's team, even the likes of Astralis and stuff like that, they're going to not play good online. Same with the Fanatics and stuff. We're talking about, they're coming back. The Mouse Sports, we're talking, so poorly about that, they're not playing well. Here's the thing, like, we can't, like, honestly, for me, I've been in this scene for so long too, of like, I know the difference between online and offline. You can't compare. Like, they're so good online, and there's nothing to do with cheating. There's nothing to do with that. But like, at the end of the day, you're sitting in front of your own computer. It's all comfort. There's no press. There's no stress. There's no pressure for you to kind of perform. You're just sitting at home, right? There's nothing. As soon as you move that player to an offline environment in front of other people, this change. All of a sudden, there's stakes. Oh my god, and I'm at an event. I'm competing for like a potential prize money. Oh, okay. Now I'm getting a little bit nervous. Or I'm getting a little bit shaky. Now I'm not going to perform as well. I'm not going to do these like crazy moves that you kind of see all the time online.
Put it this way,
you haven't seen a lot.
Since obviously like all play for the last like 4 months now or something's all online anyway, all that needs to be said is this. When it was a month into online play, what everyone did is just say, well, again, like you're saying there for Flashpoint, like, well, you should, because it's going to be online now, you should play, like a pro should know how to play. Nobody can play consistently online, and here's how I know that. So who's the team who just won the last 2 events? Big, right? They're the new best team in the world, right? Go back literally 2 months back, and Big was losing matches online to like Sprout, Complex, like teams that at the time weren't good. So literally, we've had so many months of online play now that nobody can be the best all the time. Like everyone remembers, like he was saying with Mouse Sports there, before we came online, Mouse Sports had been in the final or something like 4 or 5 of the last 6 LANs before they came online. They come online, they can't win anything. Like that's the problem, is like everyone was always waiting in case it would just end early. So you can't fully, like, you're always thinking in your mind, next month we might be online anyway. And then secondly, it's just impossible for anyone to be the best online all the time. So I think it's just unreasonable for people to expect that. Like, it's all well and good saying you should. Like, should is just a meaningless term like that.
Well, it's also the regions have been siloed too. So because we can't have cross-regional play at an acceptable ping. So like, we don't even know.
For us here in NA, that's the main problem for us. People don't address that much, but that's the problem for us. Okay, so like here in NA, you're probably gonna have like 8 teams. 8 teams, like every tournament is gonna be basically like 8 teams, and people are like stretching the tournaments, like ESL tournaments. They're stretching 8 teams in 2 months. I don't know. It's like ridiculous. So you end up like playing. When you divide like the teams, especially on groups, that's one thing like people need to like understand. You don't prac against this team. So if you have 7 teams to prac, now you have 3, right? It's not like Europe that you can go like to tier 2 and get like really prac and all this stuff. In NA, you're doomed. You have nobody to prac. It's kind of hard. You need to be practicing against MDL teams, because what's the point? I mean, practicing against EG and I'm gonna face EG 2 days later, and then after this match, another 2 days. That's pretty much what happened with us, like with Blast against EG. So the practice here in NA is hard, especially because like I don't think ever happened like a lot of NA teams actually gonna be here. Like when I say NA based here, like us, 100 keys and all this stuff. So we don't have options to like prac, and people don't address that much. And getting to a point, I'm talking with players is just unbearable. they don't want to even play anymore because every time it's against the same team and you're playing one team here and then you're going to face them in the tournament, and now the tournament is going to be the same team. There's no way you're going to face other team. So people are getting just tired. Like for us, I think this online, back into online, I think helped us, to be honest, because unfortunately we're like changing players and help us kind of set everybody in the same place because we're living like we practice in a gaming house, everybody together. So instead, like everybody like on their homes, we're together. So helps to develop a little bit like faster than everybody else. So helped us a lot, especially during the first season of Flashpoint. Actually helped us a lot because we started really bad, losing on them, and then we got to the finals, undefeated if I'm not wrong, and we kind of left the tournament. I can't speak for myself, knowing that in that season we were the best team, even though we threw the game against like Mad Lions on the train, but felt that we made a lot of improvements throughout the tournament and felt that we were the best team in that tournament. So the online era for us helped us a lot, but got to a point that we can get enough.
All right, here's an interesting question. Are there more mechanics to plan to spice things up, like the group swapping that we did or similar things? So we're going to start very soon talking about Flashpoint 2 and what that is going to look like. We weren't going to do it before because we didn't really know when it was going to be. We have a much better idea now. Currently, I can say that we haven't had those conversations, but I think it's an interesting question to ask Dead and Fifflaren about if they like the format and what are the things they would like to see as part of Flashpoint as coaches / managers within the partner teams.
You can go first if you want, Ricardo.
Okay. I think everything was like really good. The problem we got right there is like even the swapping and all this stuff. In the end of the day, you might gonna face the same teams. I think for Fifth, they face Orglers a lot, and we faced Genji a lot. Like every week, we are playing against Genji.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys can find like a mechanism to actually try to avoid this, it'll be good. Otherwise, it's gonna be like because even though there's like shuffling and everything, but you don't have that much room to go because like just like 12 teams total, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yep.
So in the end, you have like the kind of always gonna be the first seed and the second seed always gonna be kind of the same. So we don't. It's kind of hard to like not playing the teams, but I think we can do something in a way that actually can avoid to playing like a lot against the same team, like happened with us with Genji and with Dignitas, probably Argos back then.
From my perspective, I think that was just coincidence, believe it or not. Like, I think, in fact, one of the problems I think in Flashpoint 1 was that, like he's saying there about the second and first seed nearly always being the same and the teams that made the finals of the group always the same, basically. The problem is there was too much of like there wasn't enough parity, basically. Like there weren't enough teams on the same level, whereas that in itself would encourage you to pick a different team or pick one. So what people tended to do, as far as I can tell, is pick and swap so that like they got the same team again. Like I'm sure whoever it was, in your case, maybe not Genji, but maybe like August, maybe these teams wanted Dig, etc. in their group. I don't know.
No, I think that's what happened. I think we got swapped for the last stages or not. I will say, so like I think that coming into it, I actually liked the idea of it. But I do think that players weren't fully ready for. Like I don't think they fully understood it. Honestly, I don't think that they fully understood what you can actually do with this kind of system. You can be really smart with it, but I think that and keep in mind as well, this was all supposed to be for the show and like it's supposed to be a little bit spicy, right? We had the kickoff, which was great. They were talking, we were talking smack to each other. We never got that for the second one. So like now we go back to the comfort picks, right? We just go back to like, oh, we're just gonna do this. But I do think that. Sure, I do agree with Ricardo. Like it sucks. I think we played literally Orglis every single time. I think we beat them twice. They beat us twice. And sure, I would have loved to obviously play more of the teams there, considering we were there for a whole month and we only really played, I think, 3 teams, which at the end of it is really like that's really shitty, like sucky. But I also at the end of it, I go back to the thing is I don't think that people fully understood the concept of it, and I think that we can make it better. I would like to keep like somewhat the same. I actually do like the whole thing of like we get to pick who we're playing because it does add that like feel like, because obviously we're like, oh, Orgles picked us again, like fuck these guys, you know what I mean? Like we're gonna, you know, like they beat us again, and now they swapped us in again. Like God, we're upset at the same time because like God, we don't want to play them. They're hard to play against. But we're at that sense, we're like, okay, well, they picked us again. Now let's just fucking beat them this time, right? And then for the last time, we actually did beat them. So imagine if this would have happened again for like one more week. Would Orgles have picked us again? Maybe not, right?
Yep.
Would we have had the same group? Now we have the mental state of like it's 2-2. Maybe we would have picked them because we're like, okay, let's just make this a best of 5, you know?
Yeah.
If people don't know, like the key thing Fifflaren said there is like, first of all, the one time we did have the real setup like we wanted with people in person picking and giving the reasons and the banter was at the beginning, which is when no one knew what it was like. So they had to go through it to test it one time.
Yes.
And basically the second one is where it would have been amazing,
Yes.
but that's when we couldn't do it.
It was
So
pretty good the first
this.
time, to be fair. It was pretty
Yeah,
good.
but the problem is, this is what would have been different, is when you're in person and you're doing the banter, it also will then change the picks you do later. Because, for example, if early on, right, you say, well, why did you pick this team and not this other one? You say, oh, like, we actually think they're just not that good as a team. And then someone swaps that team into your group like that, it sets up the storylines, basically. Then it gives people a reason to do a weird swap or to make a group that was never made before. Or, I mean, this never happened, but like one of the cool aspects of that system is sometimes if teams do it cleverly, and in fact, by the way, here's a suggestion I would have for next time, because I wasn't there, unfortunately. I wasn't able to arrive before the first pick began. I wanted to actually brief the teams, because I was going to tell them stuff like, you are aware, guys, you can go away if you want and make like a little fucking group where it's 3 of you, and you're like, right, if we can, we're going to do all our swaps at the end to do this. And you can do something cheeky, like put a super group of death of like all the best teams if you want. You can do stuff like that. Like there's a lot of fun possibilities that unfortunately just didn't get played out this time, I think.
Yeah, I explained like how the group of death could happen to the teams just so that they were aware of, you know, potentially what they were doing. And I did brief the teams, but I honestly think like it's just going to be a matter of, so there are two flaws, one of which is that it works infinity times better if we do it in person. And secondly, it's that the teams just have to get used to it because it is a complicated procedure. And I think that teams understood how it worked much better after the first time, but then we didn't have the in-person element of it. So I think it does drive narratives really well. And I hear you guys on the like wanting to play more different teams, but that will, I think, come, you know, as we have more phases, because remember we were supposed to have the system was designed for 3 phases, not for 2. So hopefully we'll have 3 phases this next time, and hopefully, you know, we have the opportunity to be in the same location. It's impossible to say right now what's going to happen because of the pandemic.
I agree. We need more phases in Flashpoint. That's what I think.
Oh, I see what you did. Answers Monty's last point, because he asked as well, like what we thought about Flashpoint 1 and what we think, you know, about Flashpoint 2. Here's the thing for me. I actually think we were there for a week or for a month. We were supposed to be doing a bunch of cool shit on the side. We never got to do any of that. So like for me, you know, when we talk about Flashpoint 1, you know, it's really unfortunate because I can't talk much about it, right? We go back and we play online. We don't do all the cool stuff we did, like the intro video, for example. I'm sure we would have seen more content like that, the cool stuff, right? But because we never got the ability, we were in the studio for 2 days, and then obviously the decision was made that we moved over. So like all the content, all the stuff you'll be seeing on the side, the days so that we would not be playing, we would still be in the studio, for example, practicing and like doing other stuff on the side. We never got any of that, right? So like coming into Flashpoint 2, I still like the system. I still like what we're planning to do here. Like at the end of the day, I agree with the whole thing of like this game is 18 plus. We should treat it as an 18 plus game. I should be allowed to curse. I should be allowed to show my personality, and I should be allowed to like come in here and like actually be a little bit cocky and talk some smack. You know, like that's what I really like about Flashpoint in general. So I am looking forward to Flashpoint 2 in that sense, and I'm hoping that we can actually get this really up and running, like the proper kind of launch that we kind of wanted for Flashpoint 1. I hope that we kind of do see that for Flashpoint 2, hopefully. But
yeah, and you know, one of the things that we really wanted to do that we just couldn't get done in time was like we want to have like a WWE, like a wrestling style belt and a financial reward for banter every week or every phase. So we want to make it part of the game or part of the competition to have banter. And so what I would love to do is like say, okay, here's a fun like WWE banter belt, and we're going to vote and give it to the player who has the best banter. And also here's, you know, $1,000 for the best banter or whatever, right? I think that would add a fun element to it. And I think the more elements like that you add, the less angry the fans get about the banter, and they realize that people are like actually just competing for money and for this prize. You know what I mean? And I think it'll be more fun for the players. People will take it less seriously, I think, and it'll become more of a fun element of the show. So hopefully we can do something like that.
Yeah, was really good, especially because like you do like the banter and all this stuff. Flashpoint is the only tournament that actually, when players come, people straight like just tell them you can say whatever you want. Of course, with common sense, but you can just say whatever you want. And people just like, because all the banter, most of the times on LAN is just like while you're playing, people screaming and get lost in a stadium or something like that. So it's really fun. And yeah, like I told you, I gotta watch for the common sense because always is like a little bit over.
Did you get a chance to play in the studio, Ricardo? One game?
Yeah, we lost to Chaos.
Okay, but to Ricardo's point, right? Even the setup of the stage was cool because you hear each other. When you start screaming, even if you have headsets, we're gonna hear them, right? Which is super nice because like it brings back that old kind of LAN environment, the old ESA events when
and
everyone's
face to face.
And it's face to face. Yeah. I really like that. Like I got super pumped. Guardian started screaming. You never heard Guardian scream in my life, and he's just like, "Be quiet, shut the fuck up!" And I'm like, "Oh my god, okay, yeah, I'll do it too. Yeah, get down." I had a great time,
It was really fun.
And I personally, I think I think the closed studio setting is really good because it makes it more intimate without having a crowd there, and you can really have those kind of team on team or one-on-one interactions. Not to say, obviously one of the bummers is we did plan to have the finals in Sweden in a stadium, so that sucks that we couldn't do that. But I think that on a day-to-day basis, it just makes it a lot easier to make content when things are more intimate.
You know what? It doesn't matter at this point. It's still gone. So why don't we just drop it? It was going to be in the fucking Globen, which if you've ever seen is one more. It's the one that looks like the Death Star right in the middle of Sweden. It's straight fire. You've been there for Flashpoint. It's where they had that old DreamHack in like 2014. Yeah, it's like an awesome stadium, isn't it? It's the one where because it's a Death Star, it's all built around like that. The crowd is like tiered up the sides of the sort of inside of the sphere, as it were.
Yeah,
it would have been amazing.
It's a super famous stadium that we have. I was super happy when I heard about that too. Obviously, now looking back, we wouldn't have made the final anyway because how we had played.
And nobody would have been in the audience anyway.
Right, but granted, had we had the offline final, we would have probably been in the studio to begin with. So like maybe we would have the chance then. So like I was super excited when I heard that. I think same with Ricardo. We talk about the major, for example, right? Like obviously it's Brazil, you want to be there, right? It's very much the same of like in the events like in the globe, and if it's big stadium event in Sweden, DreamHack Masters, for example, the Malmö event. Hey, listen, there's a reason why it wasn't filled out, right? Like you need the big boys there. You need us to show up and bring the hype a little bit. I would love to be there. I think that sounded like fantastic. Unfortunate that it didn't happen.
Maybe next year. We'll see.
Here's a question for you, Dad. How has it been transitioning from a manager to doing some of the coaching duties?
It's not that really different because the same position I'm doing right now, I used to do in the past when we were when we were SK throughout the whole SK things. And even with like all the coaches that have been like through MIBR, Zeus, Yanko, I was always really close with them. So it's not like really different. The only difference I see right now is like more work because you like gotta do like everything behind the scenes and help as much as I can in the server, proxy and all this stuff. But it's not like something that I never did before. So of course, my plan is like always learning, help in every better way I can do it, but it's not something like different that I would say for you is impossible. We did in the past, worked, to be honest, we won a lot with SK, so like just coming back and try. Of course, the time frame is different, the CS is different, but we're gonna try as much as we can to see if it can work. If it don't work, we're gonna see like the options we have, but always like looking forward to see like how we can achieve the best results we can.
It's a question about kind of content or new content ideas that we might do in Flashpoint 2. So I will say that one of the advantages...
Never had that question before.
One of the advantages that we're going to have heading into Flashpoint 2 is that we actually know that there's a pandemic. So part of what we did later in Flashpoint 1 was that we actually sent camera crews out to the team houses and then had them, like, the teams be outside so that the camera crew wouldn't have to get close to them. They wouldn't have to be in an enclosed environment, right? So it was a little more safe during the pandemic. But obviously it took time to, like, transition the teams into the houses and a lot of resources in order to do that, and then figure out how we're going to, like, do some of these shoots. Now that we're coming into Flashpoint 2 and we know kind of this scenario more or less, or we know, you know, what is more like the worst case scenario, we can plan better around that content. But I think it might be fun. Thorin, do you have any, like, content ideas that you think would be fun to do for Flashpoint 2 that we didn't get around to in Flashpoint 1, or something you want to focus on?
I will say another area we have unfortunately lagged behind in is, except for the last one of these, we haven't put the other ones of these Q&As on YouTube. So I actually can't tell you. On this Twitch channel, basically, there's VODs. Almost every episode, someone asks us this question, and I always answer it. So basically, I've answered about 50 times in 50 different ways. So there's loads of different things. I would say what Monty just said there is probably the key, which is, it doesn't look like even Flashpoint 2 is going to be what we originally planned for Flashpoint. But as a result, if we know that going in, that is different. If we know already that people might be isolated and we can't all be in the same studio at all times, then we can plan content that works around that. The problem is, all of our content was based on the last 20 years of esports. Yes. You could just go to the same building and you could play fun games and you could do all sorts of crazy things. So if we get creative, I'm pretty sure within the confines, necessity is the mother of invention, as the old quote goes. So I'm pretty sure we can come up with some fun stuff, yeah.
I would love to see as well, like, maybe even where every season, even for season 1, right, or Flashpoint 1 rather, you have some storylines, right? You build up. You can't have like a money match at the end of the season, or at the end of, you know, 1 or 2 or whatever, of like, hey, these are the two teams that butted had the most. These are the 2 teams that kind of, you know, they were arguing. They wanted to play each other again. They got swapped. They got out of the group. We would love to see this rematch. And you kind of you can put some money on it if you want, but obviously it should be for prestige usually.
WWE style.
The first thing that comes to mind is that E-League one they did with VP of
Clash for
right?
Cash.
Very much like similar style. I think that actually fits Flashpoint in that sense. That like maybe that's something to look into in the future as well.
The only thing is, though, we'd have to make it where it was legit, because the normal thing that people would say is, yeah, let the fans decide. If the fans decide, it's going to be MIBR versus someone every single week. I guarantee you right now. So,
one thing you guys do actually is really good is you guys see the content like throughout the players, you know, like, no, I don't see a point when we go to tournament and people like, okay, today I need to get fallen. Okay. Where? We're going to a museum. It's like, why just, you know, like do like a round table with all the players and let them talk? That's the content, like, at least I want to see. Most of the fans want to see it. I don't want to see falling in a museum. It's like, I want to see things about the game. And I think you guys really kind of give the ideas and using more players, and was really good. You know, that's the content I want to see, like what they're talking about me. I remember like the guys from what's the name, Havu. Yeah, they're like talking shit and all this stuff. That's what, and you know, like people from Finnish people talking shit. It's like, fuck, man, something like really happening. It was awesome. You know, that's the kind of content I want to see, and I want to be involved in. And even the players, I think that's the kind of content that actually matters for them.
Yeah, by the way, that's the success of Flashpoint 1. Fifflaren can speak to this. By the end of Flashpoint 1, Havu, who aren't even known players, almost all of them were popping off with banter, like subtle jokes, shit talking. Like, dude, the idea you could get 5 unknown Finns and get even 3 of them to do that is, by the end of the tournament, that Sloy guy had like one of the best personalities in the tournament.
Yeah.
But that's why it's so fun. I beyond the summit events, right? It's like the same. I always say like you should attend these events because it shows personality for players. Regardless of like even just a group talk with all the players and stuff like that is great. But it shows, because like Ricardo was saying, oh, I go to a museum, or like the interview might be like, oh, how about this game, or what about the next game? But you never really get the personality of a player. But then if you put them on a couch, or you put them in a setting that you're like, hey, have at it, go at it. Like you mentioned with Habu, I mean. It's so fun, right? And it gets even better because obviously their social media is fantastic at the same time. But like they've obviously now built a brand because of this, and you know, sure, they played absolutely fantastic at the same time. So this is exactly what I think what Flashpoint is kind of all about, in like growing these storylines and growing the personalities and really showing to the people that hey, we're human, and we obviously have our minds of our own as well, and have our own ideas and how we like to treat the world.
We didn't even really get to the point either where we could have people on the blind spot afterwards and put some alcohol in them and then see what happens, right? Because like that was part of the thing, is we wanted to really, I think the long-term concept of the blind spot is just to have players like be able to hang out there and watch games as well. So like I would love it if players on their day, you know, a day where they're not playing games, still want to come into the studio and have a beer and watch the other teams compete and just kind of be around to talk and everything like that. And the other thing is, somebody brought up here that if we're going to have a weekly winner for top banter, could players with top banter have a show match with trash talk and stakes at the end of the season? Sure. I mean, that's actually a really good idea, honestly. Thank you for that, perplexed Polygon. Because if we did have kind of, you know, the top 10 players in terms of trash talk, and we let them have a show match where they draft we have 2 team captains and they kind of draft each other into those teams and then talk shit to each other, that could be really fun. Winning team gets money. The other thing I want to do potentially is do like American Gladiator style competitions. So if you're going to have 2 people who have a lot of banter between them, like do something really stupid, like a physical challenge or an obstacle course or something like that has nothing to do with Counter-Strike, that could be really entertaining if we produce it properly. But I think that having like the trash talk bowl, as it were, for money would be super funny and kind of highlight players with the most entertaining personalities. That's a great idea.
That's good.
That'd be a good warm up for the finals, honestly, for players that weren't in the finals.
It's also just another way, because that would also incentivize doing the banter. Because then even if you don't make the finals or you don't make it deep in the playoffs, you could still get some exposure for your team.
Money.
You can still even win something. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we talk about good content. The MIBR VP soccer game, for example, I think that was super fun to watch. You know, like you kind of bring them out on the norm, you put them in a setting as well. Obviously, they play soccer. I'm sure there's other stuff we can do as well at the same time. But I loved it. You know, you put some stakes on there as well. It's something that people still talk about to this day.
That was funny because we never even imagined like we'd put like 150,000 people watching a soccer match between SK and VP. And we were like, oh, what? You know. And we try. I remember like some tournaments we were like going public and say like, yeah, we got the team. Who wanna like challenge us and all this stuff. I remember when we went to Marseille for DreamHack, back then we were about to play against G2, but it didn't happen. But that's one thing, like, you know, like kind of things on the side that actually can be really good and players love it.
Let's see here. Other questions. I don't know what this content is, Thorin, so you have to answer this one. Is there a chance that there will be like a put up or shut up style content that Stunna used to do with you?
Yes, that's actually something that basically we've internally discussed many times. Basically, that's the show that's like Pardon the Interruption or whatever, where you just argue with the side of a certain topic and it's something topical, but you have a limited time. And it's more about like the fun of how you argue the point. Like it's not whether you have like the right answer or whatever. So if people remember that show that I did like 10 episodes or something, it's a good concept. It's just that because that was like high production and like Stunner was in like I think it was in like an arena and like Canada or something ridiculous or something like that. So like the point is like that show just had a limited lifespan, but I do think in esports it could be way better. Like you could even do it online nowadays, but if we can for something like Flashpoint, I think that would be an example of the fun ideas we could possibly do.
There's also ways we could integrate those kind of games into the blind spot potentially and have like bar games, or like something I thought would be fun would to do like a bar trivia, like with, you know, Counter-Strike trivia at the blind spot would be pretty fun as well. But yeah, that'd be great. What proportion of the content do you think teams should be making independently to Flashpoint content in order to have the most optimal tournament? We don't really need the teams to make anything. I think if I could force the teams to do things, I do think that each team making like some behind the scenes content independently, where the players were like, you know, a weekly short kind of reflection or reality show that's maybe like 15 minutes long about, oh, here's what happened at these games and here's what our goals are. It would be helpful to us as casters too, just to kind of get that inside look at each of the teams' mentality. So certainly I think the advantage that we have is that our partner teams are more incentivized to create content around Flashpoint to drive viewership there because they have an ownership stake and they have a financial incentive in its success. So one thing we could say is like, again, this is not going to be possible during the pandemic because the teams aren't going to stuff a bunch of internal content people into these team houses because that just raises risk right now. But in the future, it would be cool to say each team we could theoretically say that each team independently must create like a 15-minute behind the scenes piece of content every week that Flashpoint is in season.
I mean, I can talk about that too as a founder, I guess, and also the GM for our team. And you're 100% right, Monty. I mean, for us coming into Flashpoint 2, we obviously want to do content as well, right? Like when we look at this Flashpoint as a whole, like you're saying, you guys do content, but on the same side, like we are obviously doing the off the record stuff that's on the side. That's, you know, the one content that you saw from us in LA. Sure, it wasn't on a weekly basis, but we obviously want to build that storyline as well at the same time, because it's a league that we're invested in. As a, you know, it's a league that we want to, you know, continue to invest in and compete in. So like for us, it's very important to kind of grow that brand as well at the same time, as well as for us, and kind of build our own storyline in that sense.
Yeah, for us, the same thing. We're probably gonna. That's one. That's one good thing about, like, especially my players. They actually try to. They like the brand. First of all, they like to like be a MIBR, so they're always gonna be helping like build their brands and the MIBR brand. So they're always gonna be involved with like content and all this stuff. Yeah, in the future when all the pandemic and everything gonna be solved, 100%, we're gonna just get back and start doing vlogs and all this stuff again.
I would just say that sort of content appropriately should actually be on the channels of the teams themselves. So I think it's just cool if it's a way to incentivize them to do that anyway, because like for their fan base, it's cool if they can do that. And being in one space for 1 month, it's way easier to do it than if you're traveling from event to event to event. There's a reason why all the League of Legends team have those reality series that follow them every week, because they're in the same team house. They play at the same venue. Like, you can't take a cameraman to like Sweden, to like Brazil, to North America, to China, and expect he's going to do all this great content on the road. It's going to be too much work for that guy.
Yeah, we did that once. It was funny because we were like in China, then Denmark, then Brazil, and then we went back to US, and like the guy was like, I can't work like this, you know, like, because he had to like record, like edit and upload and all different time zones and all this stuff. And now we're just like, okay, we're gonna stick with like one tournament, and we're gonna do one tournament, that's it.
Will there be pie bets between Moses and Anders and Flashpoint 2? Those need
definitely not. Definitely not. Here's the reason why, though. There's two reasons why. I'll very quickly explain, because people will never ask this question again. One, Moses lost them all. He's not Moses. Just his psyche cannot take another pie being smashed in his face. And then, secondly, and this is the key part, he won a pie bet. Oh no, I think he actually won it. I can't remember if he won one or not, but basically, the last one they did was the one where Moses had VP winning that major that Astralis won, the first one, the E-League major. And because, unfortunately, Astralis won it like the most cruel comeback ever. I mean, ironically, on train coming back at the game. So, you know, just leave that one to one side. You wouldn't know anything about that. So when he did this crazy comeback, right, it was obviously so unfair to Moses, because not only did his pick lose, but then he's going to get another pie in his face, right? And then Anders did that stupid thing where instead of just saying, right, Moses, I claim the pie bet, like I'm going to do it on this way, he did that thing where he was like, I'm going to just reserve it until whenever I feel like it, and I can wait anytime I want, and be like, oh, I'm going to pie you now. And so what Moses did was, it pissed him off so much, he was like, right, after like 6 months or something, he was like, right, the statute of limitations on the pie bet is over now. So I can just tell you, there will never be another one, unless it's like Anders doing something ridiculous, like it's almost impossible Anders could win. Maybe then he'll do it. I also personally think it's a bit played out. Like, I don't know about you guys, but that's the sort of shit when I was a kid that like wasn't actually cool, when clowns were putting cream pies in people's faces. That's like a Carmack thing. Carmack is a fucking boomer from Poland. That's not funny. Like, let's do something actually funny. Like, how about this? How about have like a water soaker with like something in it? Like, that's at least vaguely funny. Like, just pies? Like, really?
Okay. What
next?
All right. Let me.
All
right.
We're getting there.
I will say that I would like to do more fun challenges or bets in general, not necessarily specifically the pie stuff. Again, the problem that we ran into this last time is that we were stretched really thin, because we lost a lot of the talent that we thought we were going to have more access to. So a lot of people were working way more than normal. And so there was less time for people to kind of take a step back and say, oh, I have time to think about this or develop this idea. But I think we will have more of an ability to do that moving forward in the future, and that's more stuff that I think would be general, if not that specific thing, things like that would be fun to integrate more into the broadcast amongst the casters. And I think when people are not stretch super thin, we'll be able to do more of that and have a good time with it and really develop those ideas. Coaches versus coaches game. Thoughts, coaches? Would you play?
I mean, I think it's like one of those things. So I think we have some coaches that actually doesn't even play the game. They come from, other stuff. So I mean, I don't know. First of all, I don't even think it would be fun. In all honesty, I mean, yeah, we spend a lot of time on the server and stuff like that. We're actively not playing. Like I'm on the server for 8-9 hours a day, but it's not like I'm walking around. I barely use my keyboard, right? Like move my mouse. It's not gonna be. I don't think it would be necessarily super fun. I understand. Like the show matches for me, even when we do the meta events and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't think they're very fun, honestly. I think that it's just the time to like, oh, we need an hour to kill. Like we need to do something. Hey, let's just do the show match. But because there's, the entrance to the stadium is all cool and stuff like that. But I would rather them see like old teams show matches or whatever. Let's bring back VP 2012 or 27 or whatever, and let's have them play against someone else, whatever. Like, let's make it interesting at least a little bit in the sense that it's just like, oh, let's play 5v5 coaches. It's like, what do you actually want to see here? It's just like shit content that people just want something to complain about.
I don't feel like I really point to.
That's basically like, if anyone remembers, like when MLG Columbus happened, they also did like one of these crowdsourced ideas. Like, wouldn't it be hilarious if what we had is the analysts casted the game, and then in theory the casters were going to be the analysts, right? That's an idea. That's a funny idea in the moment you're thinking of it. The execution is terrible because we're not casters and they wouldn't be analysts. So like the game itself's not going to be good is the point for Fifflaren's making. And I also agree, by the way, there's another thing that ESL does that, listen, it's their thing, but I personally don't think those show matches are fun. Like, I watched a couple of them and I was like, I'm never watching this shit again. Like, half the time the pro players don't even play well in those games because they just don't care. Like, it's usually on a Sunday when they've been out partying and they just turn up.
I mean, they don't want to be there, right? Some players are eliminated. Some people are like, oh, I have to show up to the stadium again. I literally just lost.
The only people who want to play in those show matches are the talent who have massive egos and are like, I guess to show that I'm really good. And like Mortis wants to like roll back the glory days and try and get a knife kill or something. It's like, listen, he can do that on his own time. I don't need to put that in front of the crowd in a massive stadium.
Yeah, you guys have your personal streams for that. I personally,
I note as well to that note, Monty. I think I've been asked probably at least 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times. I've said no every single time.
Yeah,
and I will continue to do so.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Personally, I'd rather see like the trash talk show match rather than a coach's show match because I think it would just be more entertaining.
Me too.
Here's an idea for you. If we want to do something, we would actually do something unique. Like we'd do something where we'd pick like the 10 players in the tournament, like exist and stuff that I've like roasted too much over the years. And then we'd do like an official roast of Thorin and I have to just sit there and take it and I'm not allowed to say anything back or whatever. We'd do something fun like that you'd actually enjoy the content of. By the way, that video would have like a fucking 100,000.
I would love that.
I guarantee you. We'll give people time to write lines and everything. Of course.
And then at the end of that, we pie Duncan. Oh, this is great.
I don't want
that. Let's see here. Pre-match press conference, like what is done at the UFC, where the analyst taking the press role, facilitating discussion and trash talk. We would have done that. We would have done that had we had been at LAN. We absolutely would have done pre-match interviews where that would have happened. We also sort of already were doing it with the group stage, like selection. That, I mean, I feel like we're already on that pretty well. Let's see here. People are saying they love the show match at TriCast at MLG Columbus with Red Eye, Thorin, and Richard.
Yeah, but not for the reasons they think. Monty, basically, I'll tell you the story of what happened there. Because I realized, first of all, it was a bad match because it was the first game ever played on the rework of Nuke, which wasn't a good map. And also, who the fuck would pick Nuke for a show match of players from different teams? Like, it's the most like team focused map in the game. So it was a terrible game. And then because it was like a setup where like me and Richard aren't commentators traditionally, all I did was I just basically took over and just bantered the whole time. So what they mean they love by that is like what I like saved from the thing. But it shouldn't have been like that. Like if it had been real commentary, it wouldn't have been good, I'm telling you. That was like if we have a talk show episode where the guest doesn't talk, so I just try and fill instead, you know, basically, like, and just try and make it fun or whatever. Like, I get what they mean. It was fun in a weird way, but I didn't even enjoy it that much myself. It wasn't that great a concept.
It was weird for me and Chad did it too, of that, I forget which major that was. When me and Chad casted and we had the caster do the show match. Same thing, right? We're obviously on the desk, right? And you're like, what are we supposed to do? We basically just shit talk the whole game because we obviously don't know what we're doing, right? So like even for us, it wasn't very fun. Yeah, we had some good time. It comes back to the whole thing of like, oh, we get to show our personality a little bit, and we get to talk a little bit more. We don't get a chance on the desk. We have 2 minutes essentially. Oh, now we actually have the webcam or the cam on or the microphone at all times. So like now there's no filter, right? So okay, that was a little bit fun. But here's the thing, that's what Flashpoint's about as a whole. So like I don't think you necessarily need the show match to get that, like basically what you're looking for.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, Robin.
Yeah, for me personally, I hate Showmatches. I don't even know why they actually do it. For me, I don't know if I'm gonna find the reason. It's just because like sponsors want a show match. I don't even think like organizations like TOs actually believe there's something to add on it. So for me, it's hard. Like you get a guy, and he just lost in the semifinals. Hey, you coming tomorrow 8 in the morning to play a match before the finals? You just lost. But yeah, be happy. It's like the player never gonna even like deliver something there. But I mean, you have to, you're obligated to, so they're gonna show up.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. One question here: will there be some kind of competition like you and Thorin run on Twitter in the holy war against TSM to show fan-made content on stream? I think we learned a lot. I mean, personally, I don't think either of us like expected to have the level of quality and contribution from that art contest that we ran. It was pretty amazing. And I could easily see us like if we had you know, a good topic for people to have an art contest on or a meme contest, I could easily see us doing that and integrating it into Flashpoint.
I'll tell you another angle that I want to heavily involve the community on in the future. Probably not Flashpoint 2 because I don't know if there's time to do it, but definitely as long as we're all involved still in the future. One of the things I've always hated is the way that massive sports just ignore all the fan-made content. Like the best example ever is the UFC, because the UFC, I'm not joking, part of what built the UFC's hype when they weren't as good. Now they're really good at video content, but back in the day, they just used to show the pay-per-view and that was it. So all the original highlight videos of like all the best knockouts were all made by fans. And the stupid UFC used to go online and copyright strike these guys and take their video down when it's not like you're not watching the fight because it's like a 1 second of the knockout. So you're just like killing your own community. So what I would love to do in the future, bearing in mind in Counter-Strike anyway, we technically don't own the demos. Like in theory, Valve owns them. I'd love it if we could have contests where it's like for community movie makers and stuff and have like the best movies made out of the scene or best hype trailer for the event but made by fans. Like they take all different footage from different events and build it up. I could see so many things that like the creative people who you don't even know are out there, as Monty's saying when we did this contest, just as long as you give them the platform and there's like some money incentive, there's some people that are mad creative that you've never heard of will do some awesome stuff, I think.
Yeah, Overwatch League actually did a contest recently for editors to submit like highlight videos, and some of them were really cool. So I think we're all about, you know, activating creative people in the community and giving publicity to them, as you saw with the hype video and us using Nicola, the artist from StarCraft, for the player portraits. And I think we just would like to do more of that stuff. I think there's a lot of value in helping people out and featuring them who are excited about the game and passionate about it. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, like in Brazil, there's a lot of people that actually do these kind of side things. It's really famous in Brazil. Every time we play before, they actually run through the stream is what they call SK The Dream. And it's like has like 1 million views already. And they always play this. So yeah, it's really good to get like people involved. If you get, even if you can give like something financially for them, would be even better because they're gonna be recognized and gonna be they're gonna have something to actually work for. And 100%, at least in Brazil, people would like dive in pretty fast and try to do like the best work they can.
We won't be doing arm wrestling for map veto first pick, by the way. As entertaining as that would be, it's probably actually against many players' contracts, because there are many pro player contracts. They're not allowed to like ski or skateboard or do anything that might actually injure their arms. And so I think that if we're interested in the highest level of competition, having people arm wrestle, as funny as it would be for me to watch, is not the way that you want. You don't want them to have them play the game immediately after arm wrestling. It's just going to create worse Counter-Strike for you guys. So won't be doing that one. Anything that is physically dangerous for the players is on the outs, unfortunately. How cooperative was Valve when you guys were putting Flashpoint into motion? I mean, they just had to approve of it.
They
So.
let us do the tournament, and that's all we want them to do. Get the fuck out.
They're doing a great
Perfect.
job
My
of
favorite dev.
not
Exactly.
interfering. But I will say, like, obviously they had an interest in making sure that there wasn't going to be a conflict of interest between partner teams and qualifier teams, and making sure that there was, a way for non-partner teams to compete within the structure. So you had to do the due diligence on that because obviously, as we've seen recently, Valve is concerned with conflict of interest between various teams, as well they should be. So, yes.
A little bit awkward, Monty, but you're not to know. So
I know it's a little awkward. It's okay. You don't say anything.
Do they?
I'm sure that's being resolved right now. Let's see here. Any other questions that you guys have right now? We're reaching the end of our hour. Let's see, a question about... This is kind of an interesting one. If CSGO gets the Source 2 engine, what do you guys think the chances are that the game gets worse instead of better, like Warcraft Reforged? Obviously, that's near and dear to my heart, as I started out as a Warcraft 3 caster. I won't say that the engine in Warcraft Reforged made it worse, sort of. It kind of made the single player worse. I don't know if it actually made the balancing is what's making the professional game.
Deleting Warcraft 3, the original game, didn't help.
Yeah, that didn't help either. So I would rather see it like StarCraft. I would have rather seen it like StarCraft Remastered, where you can flip back and forth and the game is effectively the same. But anyway, on to the Source 2 topic. No one can know if this is happening. No one can know what the effects of this would be. But I would ask you guys, like, what would be...
Well, Fifflaren played Source professionally and then came in CSGO, so what does he think?
Yeah.
I mean, CSGO, when it first launched, was very similar to Source, right? But here's the thing as well, people have to remember, I think it's built on the same engine. So, like, it's technically the same game. I think that one of the things when we talk about Source 2 in general, like, oh, we're expecting the announcement and stuff like that, I actually think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Source 2 is half incorporated in CS already with the panorama and all that. The only thing we really haven't changed is, the engine, how the game actually works in game. I think it is a little bit dangerous, but I would say at the same time, I do think it's needed, because right now, if you look at how the game is played, we have a lot of, we have a lot of weird, not bugs, anything, but like, the weird angles that you peek through, the one-sided angles, the smokes are just a complete clusterfuck. Like, we need to fix it, right? Like, it's very clear that the game is broken if you have guys just sitting in smokes waiting for it to disappear in order to get an advantage of, like, now we've turned into a game where we use nades and stuff like that as, to get a kill, but now we use the smoke to drop it to, like, oh, now I have the advantage and I'm in the smoke area. Like, this is like, it feels wrong to me. And I'm hoping that if we do see an update to an engine or whatever, that will be the fixes. But I actually do think that, when we talk about Source 2 and stuff like that, the one thing that I would love to see is more community impact, the way we see in Dota 2. A lot of tournaments are run in the client, and you get a lot more information in there. You can follow the tournaments a little bit more. You can do community run tournaments at the same time. You can incorporate Flashpoint in that as well. For me, I actually don't think that we'll probably see Source 2, the engine, probably this year. I have no idea. I have no insight. But, by the looks of it, it doesn't seem that it's going to happen based on the updates that they're making.
I would imagine that any planned update would have been delayed probably pretty significantly by the pandemic and people not being able to go into the office and collaborate on any kind of project.
I will say, to Duncan's point, that obviously I played Source. For us with Source, Valve never fixed the game for us. We had a separate third-party client that basically fixed the game with commands called C-Block. We obviously didn't have that when we turned into CSGO when we first started. Yeah, the game was very similar to Source. It was upgraded graphics in some sense, some upgraded maps, but it felt very similar. And I said that the first few months of playing, but then after the year they changed a lot of things. So, like, even now when we say, oh, it's a game that looks a little bit like Source, yeah, okay, you can compare Source and 1.6, but this game is not similar to Source anymore. There's a lot of things that's different. The only thing that I would say maybe is the same would be the flashbangs, and even they are a little bit different as well. So there's really not a lot that you can actually compare now when we do the Source versus 1.6 players and whatnot. Back then the argument was the Source plays was better with nades. Maybe that's still the case. I actually would say no. If we look at stats, even for Forrest, used to be known for not being good with nades. He's our best nader on the team. So I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm excited. Obviously, when we talk about the Reforge, we talk about like keeping the game fresh and new and exciting. We can't get it to a point where 1.6 where we don't get sponsors anymore because you can't sell into it because the game is just so old. Like I can run it on my potato PC. Like why do I need Intel as a sponsor to sell me a processor that I don't need? Like that's always going to be a problem, right, with computer games in general, like keeping the game fresh and alive and updated so you actually can still sell onto it.
Yeah. For me, like, doesn't really matter if it comes to source true or not. It really depends on the commitment Valve gonna have with the game. Because they can fix things. They can actually with time they can make the game better, but doesn't really seem like they are really interested about this. Everything takes too long. Like I remember, like we play a major with a bug, and they pretty much said like, no, yeah, we can fix it right now. Have to be after the major. And like for us, they're like teams involved. It's like this is the most important tournament from them, and they're like, okay, let the tournament go, and then we fix it. So if they actually get involved with the game and actually willing to do something, I think it'll be great. But it really depends on them.
Well, I would potentially make the argument that part of an incentive for them to get more involved with the game might be to update the game in a way that allowed them to do more financially with it, whether that was some sort of like better cosmetic integrations or like what we see them do with Dota in terms of drops or something. Yeah.
This is also how you know Monty comes from other games, because he actually doesn't understand that Valve as a company are the fucking meme of like, take my money, and they just won't. They just won't take the money. Like, everyone's been begging for years to give us this stuff.
Even the community was like, please do like Dota. We're gonna give you guys money. We're begging you to give you guys money. No, we're not gonna.
I mean, the non-existence of Half-Life 3 is enough said about that, because if they really wanted to make billions of dollars, they could just release Half-Life 3.
True. What needs to be said is this: there's never been a Half-Life 3. In the meantime, I think there's been like 4 Star Wars movies or something. Like, can you give me a break? Just give me a break, Valve.
Yeah. So no, I definitely understand, but you do make a very good point about that. I'm just saying that it's, it might not happen, but I would think odds would improve. The
thing I would like them to do, personally, I don't give a fuck if Valve makes any more money. They make loads anyway. I would like them to just make cosmetic things that like teams and players could profit from. Because that's one of the things I've always liked about the Dota angle, that like they didn't do it properly in CS, in my opinion. Like those stickers, that was like a hype thing years ago, mate. That's not such a big thing anymore. So if you had other options, like here's the difference. If there was like a special range of skins for like players who played in the most legendary spots, like Olaf Meister and fucking Device or whatever, you think fans wouldn't buy that like AK skin? Of course they would. So everyone benefits then. You can get a community artist to make it. Device gets the money. Valve gets their little cut. Maybe some of it goes in the prize pool if you want to be clever. Like I think there's so many things you could do if you were like willing to be creative and collab with the community.
I think there was a post yesterday, right, on Reddit. They were talking about the Fnatic skins and stuff that people did, right? And one of the things that we talked about, obviously, NIP was the one who launched this ARMS update, and we kind of knew about the skins, right? And we also, back then with NIP, were making skins. Because the idea, I remember talking to Valve about this, and it was never set in stone, but I feel like we felt that there was a chance that it might get implemented with like this team skins, maybe even potentially like, hey, why can't we get like Flashpoint skins, right? Like, why can't we support Flashpoint in that sense of like, hey, here's community, I get the crate with 8 skins or whatever. I think that the problem that we have with like, I think that they're using a lot from Dota and like the things that happen with Dota. Obviously, Dota is just filled with cosmetics and skins everywhere. And I think they thought that it was just too much. Like if you look at our skins, we don't get a lot. We had 2 crates in the beginning. We had the esports crate, we had the other crate. They even removed one of the crates. So now we only have the 1 crate, right? So even less skins. So there, I think, I don't know. I don't foresee it actually happening anymore. Maybe we get a keychain that we do in Rainbow Six or whatever, but I don't think that they want to fuck with the
I'll drop a gem for you now. That's a secret piece of info people don't know, and it will depress the fuck out of you about Valve software. Right? When Valve did the first ever major, DreamHack Winter 2013, as Fifflaren says, they had a special esports case only. And the premise was going to be like Dota. If this popped off, it was going to fund the majors going forward. So at the time, you never had the amount of money. Like the amount, actually, even to have a 250k tournament was a big deal back then. There barely was any. So the problem is this. They did it one time, and then that it was told to people behind the scenes, oh, it just didn't make that much money different from normal cases, so we didn't bother again. Great sample size, Valve. One case in 2013 at the first major. CS didn't even pop off massive till like 2015. Try it a few more times, for fuck's sake. Don't just do it once and then go, didn't work and quit. Like, if they'd have kept that doing it or tweaked it over the years, like that already itself could have paid for all the majors. We could have had like the money that TI has.
No, here's the thing. I think the reason why they removed the case was because they made, again, to Duncan's point, take my money. They made too much money, and people started complaining. They said, "Why are we only getting 250K prize pool tournaments twice a year when you've made like $20 million on these cases?" You know, like what the fuck? And I think that when that was made, they made the one case and be like, oh crap, like we can't community fund this the way we wanted to. They're gonna be on our ass because they thought, obviously, when you read the crate, they'd be like, oh, this will support the esports scene. But I don't think that Valve necessarily realized how many of those crates would be actually have been sold. I remember this was years ago. It was like 4 or 5 million. It was like an absurd number. And at that time, we've had 2 majors for 250. We basically spent $500,000, then maybe 750K of Valve's money, and they've made essentially like 20x that, and we still haven't, we're not getting a bump, right? And then the 500K happens, sure, we still don't get it. So I mean, there's obviously so much that Valve does that we have no idea about, but I do think that the community backlash in a lot of the cases is why like they opt not to do some things. Like they start like hammering out, and I can see it in some sense too. It's like a false promise of some sort. Just say like esports crate, 10% goes to the majors, and have it tracked the way that Dota has it with TIs, so people actually have an idea of how much money is actually being put into these. Because now it just feels for the players or for the people that's spending the money, they're like, I'm getting robbed. I thought I was supporting the esports scene, but I'm not supporting it at all. We haven't gotten any more tournaments. We haven't got any more money into it. Like, why am I supporting it then? So I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, Valve is like a company hard to understand, like from my point of view, right? Because they don't need to even create something. People just gonna go to the market right there. They're gonna create. They're gonna give their approval. And they're gonna insert the skin on the game. Even for the majors, they don't really seem like they actually care that much. So it's just weird. I remember like when people got crazy. I think it was PGL back in the day. They actually create like gloves for like teams, and it took like 3 years to actually they insert like gloves in the game. Like it's not even like for teams, it's like random ones. So I don't it's kind of hard to see like the pace they work, because everything is like, on their face. They don't need to even hire somebody to do it. It's the community do everything, and CS community is really good at it. So they always like bringing something, putting in the workshop, like maps, everything you can find there. They just need to like take a look and say, oh yeah, let's test this thing. But I don't think they care enough.
One does wonder, but we can hope. We can hope. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week for the Flashpoint Q&A. Thanks for dropping by and asking your questions. Thanks to Fifflaren and Dead for joining us. Go watch By the Numbers with Thorin and Richard Lewis. When is that starting?
In 1 hour.
In 1 hour, you may watch By the Numbers.
I will. It'll be a lot of things.
It's a lot of things to talk about. So
my regards for him.
Go watch that in 1 hour, guys. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.